Hey everyone, welcome to English Pod, where we make learning English fun with friends. In this series, I'll break down keywords, slang, idioms, and cultural references from each episode to help you improve your English naturally. Watch before or after the episode to boost your understanding. Subscribe and turn on the notifications. Let's dive in.
So today, we're gonna dissect the first episode of Friends. You know, the one where Monica gets a roommate?
The one with the friend.
Yeah, exactly. And what we're gonna do is show you how even the most casual chit chat is actually packed with this surprisingly sophisticated grammar.
It's true. And you know what? You might even pick up a few tricks to, level up your own communication game.
Totally. So first up, let's talk about the present perfect tense.
Ooh, fancy.
I know, right? But it's actually way simpler than it sounds.
Huh.
So you remember when Monica's talking about Paul, the wine guy?
Oh, yeah. Poor Paul.
Right. And she says he, quote, hasn't been able to perform in 2 years.
Ouch.
I know.
Yeah.
But grammatically speaking, what's really interesting here is that, it connects this past situation to, right now without telling us exactly when in those 2 years things started, you know?
Right. It's not just some random event in the past. It's like this ongoing thing that's still relevant.
Exactly. If she just said, he couldn't perform, it would sound more like, a one-time thing that's over and done with. But the present perfect, it gives us this, extra layer of meaning, it's still affecting him in the present.
It's all about the nuance,
Totally. Okay, so now let's rewind a bit and talk about the past perfect. This one's for talk about, one thing that happened in the past before, another thing in the past. You with me?
I'm following.
Awesome. Okay, so remember when Monica finds out that Paul's been, recycling his, sensitive lines?
Yeah, total player move.
I know. And she says, he said he had problems, but it turns out he had used that line before.
Yeah.
And boom, past perfect, right?
Had used?
Exactly. And that little word had puts his line using before Monica's discovery. It's a super efficient way to show the order of events,
Timeline established.
Exactly. And it's so subtle that you probably didn't even realize it was happening, right?
Probably not.
But that's the beauty of grammar.
Oh, okay.
Ready to get a little hypothetical?
Hit me with it.
So remember Rachel's whole shoe meltdown.
Classic Rachel.
And she asks, what if I don't want to be a shoe? What if I want to be a hat? Now, obviously, she's not literally talking about footwear and the headwear.
Yeah.
She's using the second conditional.
Metaphor alert.
Exactly. She's imagining this, completely different reality to express her, deep existential crisis. And even though she doesn't say it directly, the whole what-if structure implies, if I didn't want to be a shoe, what would happen? You see?
Deep, man.
I know, right? So the second conditional, it's this powerful tool for exploring possibilities and expressing, desires that aren't true in, reality.
It's all about those what-ifs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so sometimes you really want to hit home a certain point, right? Really emphasize.
You're talking about cleft sentences, right?
Right. When we want to highlight what Rachel really desires, we could say, what I want is to make my own decisions. Boom. Emphasis achieved.
It's like a spotlight on that specific desire.
Right. You could just say, I want to make my own decisions, but the cleft sentence, it just, throws the focus right where you want it.
Subtle but powerful.
I know. And you know what else is subtle but powerful?
Don't tell me. More grammar.
You got it. You hear the word like all the time in casual conversation, and it's doing something really interesting grammatically. It's called a discourse marker.
Sounds complicated.
But it's not. Remember when Rachel says, it's like all my life everyone's told me you're a shoe?
Yep. Another classic Rachelism.
Exactly. But it's not a direct comparison. It's she's, softening the statement and making it more personal. This is how it feels to me.
Yeah, it makes her sound less accusatory and more introspective, right?
Exactly. And finally, let's talk about Joey.
Could we have a deep dive without him?
Honestly, I don't think so. Remember his classic line, grab a spoon? Right. But grammatically speaking, there's so much left unsaid. It's you should grab a spoon and start dating again. That's ellipsis in action.
He's a man of few words.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And that's why his dialogue just sounds so natural. He's the king of ellipsis.
The master of leaving things out.
Totally. But even though he's skipping words, he's still using some pretty advanced stuff, like modal verbs.
Ooh, tell me more.
So when he says, you should grab a spoon, that should, it's not just a random word. It's a modal verb that's giving you advice, like a suggestion.
It's like a gentle nudge in the right direction.
Totally.
Yeah.
Modal verbs like should, might, could, they all give you these different shades of meaning. Possibility, obligation, recommendation, it's all packed into that one little word.
Mind blown.
I know, right? And you know what's crazy? We just explored 7 advanced grammar points, and it was all hidden in plain sight in the first episode of Friends.
We didn't even scratch the surface, did we?
Not even close.
Ever get that feeling when you're watching something and you know there's a joke, but you're just not quite getting it?
Oh, yeah.
Like there's this extra layer that you're missing.
Yeah, it can be super frustrating.
Right. Well, today we're doing a deep dive into the very first episode of Friends.
Ooh, a classic.
To unpack some of those cultural references that might be tripping people up.
Like those little things that you need to know to really get the humor.
Exactly. Think of it like a crash course in those unspoken American cultural cues and humor.
So you can watch Friends and actually understand what's so funny.
Exactly. All right, so right off the bat, Ross comes in with that super dramatic line, "Dear Diary, today I married a lesbian."
Yeah, like, whoa, starting strong.
So obviously he's not actually writing in a diary, right?
No, it's more like him just saying, my life is a mess, in this super over-the-top way.
Like he's trying to be all theatrical and self-pitying.
Exactly. And it's even funnier when you hear his internal monologue, like, sometimes I wish I was a lesbian. Did I say that out loud?
And then, "Dear Diary, today I actually considered being a lesbian." Like, come on, Ross.
Right. It just shows how flustered and confused he is.
And then we have Rachel making her grand entrance, cutting up her credit cards.
Oh, yeah, her big Declaration of Independence.
And Joey chimes in with, "Do the words, Billy, don't be a hero mean anything to you?"
Now, that one might go over your head if you aren't familiar with, like, 70s pop music.
It's a classic song, right? About someone trying to be all brave, but maybe being a bit reckless.
Yeah, so Joey is basically telling Rachel to chill out, maybe not make such a rash decision.
Like a funny way of saying, whoa, hold your horses.
It's interesting how these pop culture references become like a shorthand,
Yeah, just a few words, and everyone knows exactly what you mean.
a shared language. Later, Chandler says someone is like a deer caught in the headlights of love.
That image of a deer just frozen in fear, completely overwhelmed.
Oh, yeah, we all know that feeling.
And Chandler uses it to poke fun at this whole idea of being scared of love and relationships.
It's like his classic, cynical Chandler way of looking at romance.
Spot on. Then there's Rachel's line, "It's a metaphor, Daddy."
This one's all about her trying to break free from her dad's expectations.
He wants her to be this perfect little shoe, but she wants something more.
Yeah, she's like, what if I want to be a purse? Or a hat?
It's her way of saying she wants to define herself, not be put in a box.
And it's funny because, well, who compares themselves to a purse or a hat?
It's so unexpected, right? And then we meet Monica's date, Paul the wine guy.
I love that. It's so typical American, right?
In
Giving
fact-
everyone nicknames based on one specific thing.
Like the coffee guy at work or the gym girl.
Yeah, like even if you don't know someone's name, you can identify them by their, like, one defining characteristic.
It shows how casual and informal American social interactions can be.
Yeah, you don't need to be all formal and proper all the time. And then Phoebe, oh, Phoebe, she comes in with "Stop cleansing my aura."
Now, if you're not into New Age stuff, that might sound a bit out there.
Yeah. But the idea of an aura, like this energy field around you, and needing to cleanse it of negative energy, it's pretty common in that subculture.
And it immediately tells you that Phoebe is a bit different, a bit more spiritual and quirky.
Right, like it just gives you a glimpse into her personality through this cultural reference. And lastly, we have Chandler reacting to Ross pouring his heart out.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Ross is being all emotional, and Chandler says, I think I just started menstruating.
No, obviously, he's not literally starting his period. It's a really sarcastic way of saying he's feeling overwhelmed by all the emotions.
Like he's using a stereotype, even if it's not a particularly accurate one, to express how he's feeling.
Exactly. It's a bit of a risky joke, but that's Chandler for you.
So even in this one episode, there are all these tiny moments packed with cultural info.
Yeah, and it's not just about understanding the jokes. It's about understanding the characters and American culture as a whole.
Totally. Focusing in on some of the words,
The words.
the vocabulary that's used.
Interesting.
Yeah, and whether you are a total Friends fanatic and you've seen this episode a million times,
Yeah.
or someone who's maybe just kind of curious about, how language changes and how it reflects like a certain time and place, or if you just like those little,
Yeah.
aha moments where you're like, oh, that's
I see what they did there.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to go beyond the dictionary today and really try to dig into like what these seemingly simple words
Okay.
from this episode can tell us about the characters, about the show,
I love it.
about, 1994.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. So why don't we just jump right in? So right away, I mean, right out of the gate, we have Ross, and he's talking to Rachel, and he says,
Right.
I had a major crush on you.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like such a simple word, crush.
Right.
But in that moment, it's so loaded
Yeah, it's huge.
because it's not just like, oh, yeah, kind of liked you. It's like years of like unspoken
Pining.
pining.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's all kind of coming out right there.
Yeah, it's interesting because it kind of downplays it almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, crush is such a middle school word almost.
Right.
But he's had this like deep emotional connection
Totally.
for years.
Right. And it's almost like, I think the simplicity of the word makes it relatable for the audience because we've all had crushes.
Yeah, the first.
So we kind of get where he's coming from.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then we have this word, and it's a big one for the episode. It's lesbian.
Oh, yeah.
And this is, of course, the whole storyline with Carol and Susan.
Right.
And it's so central to the whole episode that this is
It really is.
what's going on with Ross.
Yeah, and it's stated so directly.
Yes.
It's not hinted at or anything.
Right.
And it's, we're talking about 1994 here. This is a huge turning point for Ross.
Yeah. And it's also, introducing, I think, a relationship dynamic that maybe wasn't as widely seen on TV at that point.
Yeah, I was definitely, present in society, but not quite as,
Right, it wasn't quite as mainstream.
That is mainstream, exactly.
And what's interesting to me is that it's presented very factually.
Right.
Like it's just a piece of information.
Like, this is what happened.
This is what's happening, and we're moving on.
And they do.
Yeah, there's not a lot of, fanfare around it.
Yeah, it's very matter of fact.
Exactly. Okay, so moving on, then we have Monica.
Okay.
And she's talking about, her date with Paul, and she says,
Oh, yeah?
it's not even a date.
Right.
But of course, we know it's a date.
Of course.
But she's downplaying it.
Yeah, why is that?
Well, I think it shows that she's maybe a little
hesitant?
hesitant. Yeah, and maybe a little vulnerable.
Yeah, she's been through some stuff.
Right, and maybe she's trying to protect herself
Yeah.
from getting hurt again.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting how much she's communicating, even though she's not explicitly saying it.
Yeah, it's all subtext.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we come to one of Monica's most iconic lines.
Okay.
And she says it to Rachel when Rachel first, arrives at Central Perk.
Oh, yeah.
And she says, real world, it sucks, you're going to love it.
I love that line.
Right? And it's so funny because it's like...
It's so true.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so true. And it's also so blunt.
Yeah, there's no sugarcoating.
No sugarcoating whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I think it really resonates with people
Yeah.
who have, gone through that transition from like...
From school to work.
Yeah, exactly. Or from, living at home to living on your own.
Yeah, that whole
The real world.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we have Ross again.
Oh, right.
And he's talking about, his breakup with Carol. And he says, my intestine is tied around my neck.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just such a funny line.
It's so visual.
It's so visual, right?
Yeah.
And it's just such a funny way of describing...
Or how much pain he's in.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it shows how you can use language to really express these, like, strong emotions.
Yeah, in a humorous way.
Yes, in a humorous way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we have Rachel.
Okay.
And she's talking about her life before she, left Barry at the altar. And she says, it's like all my life, everyone has told me, you're a shoe.
That's a good one.
And it's such a powerful line.
What do you think she means by that?
Well, I think she's using shoe as a metaphor
Okay, I see it.
for like this identity that was kind of imposed on her.
Yeah, like she was just expected to fit into this mold.
Exactly. And it's such a strong statement about how she wants something more.
Yeah, she wants to find her own path.
Exactly. And then what does she do?
What does she do?
She cuts up her credit cards,
Oh, yeah.
which is such a tangible.
Dramatic.
Yes, so dramatic.
But also very visual.
Very visual, right? And it's like this big step towards independence.
Like, I'm breaking free.
It's exactly.
From my old life.
And it's maybe a little idealistic,
Yeah, maybe a little.
but it's still a powerful moment.
It is.
Okay, so then we have Monica again, and she's offering Rachel a place to stay.
Oh, yeah.
And she says, you can crash here.
Crash.
Yeah, and I love that word choice.
It's so casual.
It is so casual, and it just kind of shows like,
The easygoing nature of their friendship.
yes, Exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's no judgment.
Right.
There's just this like immediate support.
Like, come on in.
Yeah, exactly.
The door's open.
And then this leads to Rachel talking about how she wants to be independent.
Oh, yeah.
But then she also says, she just needs to get a job thing.
A job thing.
And it's like so naive.
Yeah, she has no idea.
No idea
all.
what she's in for.
Right, and I think it really sets up her character arc for the whole
Yes.
series.
Like this is going to be a journey.
Yes, exactly. And then we come full circle back to Monica.
And she's talking about the real world and she says,
Mhm.
it sucks.
It sucks.
And it's just so short.
And to the point.
And to the point.
Yeah.
Right. And it just kind of brings us back to that.
To that reality.
Yeah, that reality of like
That adulting is hard.
adulthood is hard.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't know. It's just amazing to me how all these words, which seem so simple and ordinary,
Yeah.
actually tell us so much about the characters.
Yeah, and about the show.
And about the show.
So let's start with a line that's practically a Friends meme at this point. Ross's classic, "There's nothing to tell."
Oh, yeah. That one's a gold mine.
Picture this. Freshly divorced Ross is surrounded by his friends. They're all worried, and his immediate response is this total shutdown.
There's nothing to tell. Like a steel wall.
Exactly. It's such a human thing to do when we feel vulnerable, especially after a breakup. We just clam up.
It's self-protection 101. Putting up those emotional defenses.
But why do we do that? What's going on in our heads when we refuse to share? What's the psychology behind it?
Well, it's a way to avoid pain. Right?
Yeah.
It's like we're trying to convince ourselves that if we don't talk about it, it's not really happening.
The old, if I ignore it, it'll go away approach.
Exactly. And then there's the social aspect. Wanting to appear strong and in control. Vulnerability can feel like a weakness.
Special for Ross, I mean, he's already going through a divorce. That's got to be a blow to his ego.
Absolutely. So he's doubling down on the I'm fine act.
Even though it's so obvious he's not.
And that brings us to the next line, which is almost the opposite reaction. I just want to be married again.
Talk about a swing in the other direction.
Yeah.
It's almost comical how quickly he goes from denial to yearning.
But it makes sense when you think about it. He's
Yeah.
lost his primary attachment figure.
Yeah.
So there's this void, this emptiness that needs to be filled.
From a psychological perspective, is that a common reaction after a breakup? I mean, that instant need to find someone new.
It is fairly common. It's all about attachment and security. Humans are social creatures. We crave those close bonds.
And marriage is like the ultimate symbol of commitment and security, right? So maybe that's what Ross is subconsciously reaching for.
It's not necessarily about being married specifically, but about what marriage represents, that sense of belonging and stability.
The idea of having a partner, someone to share life with.
Exactly. Now, speaking of partners and past connections, the pilot throws in a classic rom-com twist with Ross's confession to Rachel.
Oh, yeah. I had a major crush on you. Who didn't see that coming?
It's a textbook example of unspoken feelings and the awkward timing of their revelation.
Right. They're both at these turning points in their lives. Fresh starts, and then, bam, past romantic history resurfaces.
It makes you wonder how many unspoken attractions are out there, just waiting for the right moment to be revealed.
And what prompts those revelations? It's like some life events just shake things up enough to make us reevaluate our feelings.
Absolutely. And it's a vulnerable thing to do, admitting a past crush, especially when you're both in such uncertain territory.
And let's not forget Rachel's response, "I knew." Just a simple 2 words. But it adds so much to the dynamic.
It suggests that maybe this attraction wasn't entirely one-sided. Maybe there were subtle signals exchanged over the years.
A little unspoken dance of interest.
Which brings up an interesting question. How do past connections shape our present and future relationships?
It's like those unresolved feelings can linger in the background, and then certain situations bring them to the forefront.
It's definitely something to think about. Okay, let's move on to the early stages of romance. With Monica's declaration about her dinner with Paul, this is not even a date.
Ah, the classic downplaying of a romantic encounter. It's practically a universal dating ritual.
Right, it's all about managing expectations and protecting yourself from potential hurt.
It's like we're all trying to appear cool and nonchalant, like we're not too invested even if we secretly are.
Exactly. And this ties into those unspoken rules of dating, those social scripts that dictate how we're supposed to behave.
It's like this weird dance of trying to gauge each other's interest without seeming too eager.
And trying to avoid vulnerability too soon.
Because being vulnerable means risking rejection.
And that's something we all want to avoid.
Makes sense. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about Monica's line to Rachel as she's starting her new independent life. "Welcome to the real world. It sucks. You're gonna love it."
That line is brilliant. It captures the bittersweet reality of adulthood so perfectly.
It's that moment where the fantasy of freedom clashes with the actual challenges of being on your own.
There's this disillusionment when we realize that adulthood isn't always what we expect it to be.
Bills and responsibilities and just general life stuff.
Right. But there's also this excitement, this sense of possibility that comes with being independent.
And Monica's line acknowledges both sides. It's like she's saying, yeah, it's tough, but you'll figure it out and you'll even come to appreciate it.
And it's important to note that she's not just stating a fact. She's offering support and solidarity.
It's that unspoken message of, we've all been there, you're not alone.
Which leads us to another piece of advice. This time from Joey to a heartbroken Ross. Grab a spoon.
Now that's some sage wisdom right there.
It's such a simple phrase, but it's packed with meaning. It's about moving forward, even when you're feeling down.
It's that gentle nudge from a friend to get you out of your funk and back into life.
And the unexpected imagery of grabbing a spoon makes it memorable.
It's like, hey, life might be a mess right now, but there's still ice cream to be eaten.
Exactly. And sometimes that's all you need. Just a little reminder that there's still good things to experience.
And sometimes that first step forward involves a bit of emotional release, like Phoebe's outburst about Ross's ex-wife. To hell with her.
Oh, that's a classic. It's pure, unfiltered anger, and it's actually a healthy coping mechanism in some cases.
Really?
It allows you to externalize your pain to direct it outward instead of bottling it up inside.
So it's a way to process those negative emotions.
Exactly. And it can be empowering to reclaim your sense of agency after feeling hurt and betrayed.
I can see that. It's like saying, I'm not going to let this person control my emotions anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, let's not forget the power of unspoken agreements and support systems, which is perfectly illustrated by Chandler's observation. Well, I guess we've established she's staying with Monica.
It's such a subtle moment, but it speaks volumes about the depth of their friendship.
Right. There's no formal discussion, no big pronouncements. They just instinctively rally around Rachel.
It's like they all know what needs to be done without even having to say it.
And that's the beauty of close friendships. You have this unspoken understanding and willingness to support each other.
It's those strong social bonds that help us get through tough times.
Absolutely. And it reinforces that theme of found family, which is so central to the show.
They're creating their own support system, their own sense of belonging.
And that's a powerful message. And one of the most relatable lines from the pilot comes from Rachel as she's struggling with her newfound independence.
You mean the shoe analogy?
Right. Yes. It's like all my life everyone's told me you're a shoe. Such a clever way to describe feeling tracked by expectations.
It's like she's finally realizing that she's been living a life dictated by others, by her family, by societal norms.
And she's yearning for something more, for the freedom to define her own path.
It's a universal struggle, right? That feeling of being boxed in by labels and expectations.
Absolutely. And breaking free from that takes courage. It means confronting those expectations and figuring out who you truly are.
And being willing to embrace the uncertainty that comes with forging your own path.
Exactly. And finally, we have Ross's wonderfully dramatic description of his emotional state.
Oh, you mean the someone reached down my throat, grabbed my small intestine line?
That one.
Yeah.
So over the top. But it perfectly captures the intensity of heartbreak.
It's like he's trying to express this profound emotional pain, but words just aren't enough.
So he resorts to hyperbole, to this visceral imagery that conveys the sheer chaos of his feelings.
It's funny in a dark way, but it's also incredibly relatable. We've all felt that level of emotional distress at some point.
And it reminds us that it's okay to express those big emotions, even if they seem a little over the top.
And to be empathetic when others are struggling to articulate their pain.
Exactly. Don't judge the metaphor, just try to understand the feeling behind it.
Here's a synopsis of Friends, Season 1, Episode 1. The Pilot. The series begins with Monica, Ross, Rachel, Chandler, Joey, and Phoebe hanging out at Central Perk, their favorite coffee shop in New York City. Ross is heartbroken because his wife Carol has left him, and he's shocked to learn she's a lesbian. Meanwhile, Monica goes on a date with a man named Paul, who lies to gain her sympathy. Their routine is interrupted when Rachel runs into the cafe in a wedding dress, having just left her fiancé at the altar. She reconnects with Monica and meets the rest of the group. Determined to become independent, Rachel cuts up her credit cards and decides to find a job and live on her own for the first time. By the end of the episode, Ross begins to open up emotionally, and we get a glimpse of his longtime crush on Rachel, setting the stage for future episodes.
Thanks for watching. I hope this lesson helped you learn something new. and made your friends' experience even more fun. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with your fellow English learners. Subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new episode breakdown. See you in the next one.